Hello everyone, here we are in California with the sun shining and the Sonoma Raceway proving to be a huge attraction to not only the drivers but the spectators that want to see some real race action on what is termed a very old school circuit. We bring the Ferrari Challenge to Sonoma and we know it's going to entertain. We have a series of races across the weekend that will feature the Pirelli drivers, the Pirelli AM drivers, also the Coppa Shell and Coppa Shell AM drivers, all driving their 488 Challenge Evos to the absolute max on this circuit which takes no prisoners. It is utterly lovely here. Hello, good afternoon. Beautiful Coppa Shell Race 2 on its way, following a very dramatic Coppa Shell race yesterday. We're looking forward to the mix of Shell and Shell Am drivers that will be taking to the track for their Race 2 of the weekend. Drivers champing at the bit to get out there. We reached the very sharp end of our 2023 calendar, having been to Homestead Miami, COTA, Road Atlanta, Montreal. Here we are in Sonoma with Road America to come before we all head off to the Finale Mondiale event held in Tuscany at the Mugello circuit. And please follow us on @Ferrari Races. So precisely where we are in the USA, well, here it is then. Sonoma Raceway right on the coast, and a beautiful location in the Napa Valley here, very much in the wine region, and had the opportunity to visit a winery last night, and how lovely it is here. Fantastic location for a racing circuit, very, very evocative indeed. It's something of an old school circuit. Some 6 left, 6 right-hand turns as its circuit winds its way through the hills around here, and it's a 12-turn course with some 4.056 kilometer of tarmac to really test our drivers. And it has proved to be a real challenge, forgive the pun, for our Ferrari drivers out there this weekend. Weather conditions are slightly nicer today than yesterday. The air temperature is 30 degrees. You wouldn't believe that because there's quite a lot of wind around. Track temperature 42 degrees. Tire deg is always something of an issue here. Very abrasive asphalt. And there you can see turn 11 and the paddock to the left-hand side of where our camera is situated there. So this is where we are then, and we're looking forward to the Coppa Shell drivers getting out there. It was David Veronin that put it on pole position. And he and Cameron Root had a fantastic battle yesterday, expecting the same today. Let's get a bird's eye view of what this track is like right now with Manny Franco.
Hi, I'm Manny Franco, driver of the number 18 Ferrari Challenge Evo for New Country Competizione, and this is a lap around Sonoma Raceway. Here at Sonoma Raceway, we're on the front straight, getting ready for turn 1. Turn 1 is a fast left-hander, a lot of commitment, uphill. You're going to get a good compression, just trying to stay as far left as you can, carry as much speed. Braking zone here for 2. At the crest, you're going to get a little bit of oversteer, trying to apply power as quickly as you can. Here for 3 and 3A, trying to hug that left side, use all the compression. Turning right here for 3A, you're going to get a little bit of oversteer coming up the crest of the hill. Heavy braking zone for 4. The car tends to snap loose a little bit. Trying to get on power as soon as you can. This is a fast right-hander coming up here. Just trying to carry as much speed, full flat, full commitment here for entry of the carousel. You're trying to stay as far left as you can. Trying to use all that grip, trying to get on power as early as you can. You have a little bit of compression, full throttle here, going onto the back straight, getting ready for 7. Trying to make sure everything's in order. Heavy braking zone for 7 here. You're just trying to send the car in as fast as you can. Trying to maintain that speed, keep the car under control for 7A here. Trying to apply power as fast as you can without losing the rear. So we're coming into the S's here, really delicate on the throttle, trying to keep as much pace as you can without losing the rear here. You're looking on the left-hand side for a post to indicate where the track limits are. It's a blind corner here for 8A. Going into 9, full flat here. You're braking a little bit here, trying to apply power as quickly as you can, using all of that track on the left-hand side. Going into 11, the last corner, here you're trying to go for a V shape. It's really easy to lose the end on exit here. Just trying to apply power as quickly as you can, keep that car under control. Going onto the front straight again, start finish here, and this is a lap here at Sonoma Raceway.
Cheers, Manny Franco. A great lap there. And alongside me on air in our opulent studio right at the top of Race Control is Justin Bell. Delighted to welcome Justin back on air with us. And if I have a beef with you, Justin, it is you promised me a lap round here in your 296 and you didn't deliver, friend. I thought we were doing that this morning.
I'm very sorry. It was the choice between you and my girlfriend.
Well,
and one of you won.
Yes, and the right one.
And the right one. I've got to say, watching that lap with Manny then, I love watching a full, the indulgence of watching a full lap in car. It really does get you excited. I mean, I know what he's feeling, I know what he's looking at, I was just thinking, oh, as he goes on the throttle, yeah, it's just what I did. Oh, he did that well. It makes you really excited and makes me actually want to get behind the wheel, which is not what I need to be doing these days. But I drove this track, as I told you, in the 296 GTB on Wednesday, and it reminded me that this is a driver's circuit. If you are into the very fast and very technical, homogenized Formula One tracks that we deal with because of the levels of performance and risk involved, that's one thing. But you come here, and everyone out there should feel very embraced by the fact that the best drivers of motorsport history have been on this same track, almost the identical layout in GT cars, feeling what you're feeling. This is one of the classics.
It is indeed. And I have to say that, coming here, you and I spoke before we arrived here, and you said, you're going to love it, Dave, because it really is an old-school circuit. And you're right when you talk about the homogenized and sanitized, if you like, circuits that we see so often nowadays with acres and acres of tarmac runoff area. There isn't that here, and therefore, any mistake you make, you are going to be punished. And a number of drivers have been punished across the course of they come here on a Wednesday to prepare, and we had a couple of drivers that had offs on the Wednesday as they're learning the track and, just finding its nuances. And what it has delivered for us is some really, really exciting racing yesterday, which we're expecting the same today. And as these drivers, they've had one competitive day now. They've done their qualifying sessions, they've done the race one, so they know what to expect. I think, to be fair, track conditions going to be slightly better for them today, maybe. Also part of our on-air team is, of course, Amanda Busick, and she's down there, I'm guessing, somewhere in the pit lane. Good afternoon, Amanda.
Hey, Dave, good afternoon. And cars are making their way to us after taking some recon laps to get ahead of race ready for this final race in the Coppa Shell here in Ferrari Challenge. And we look back to yesterday's race. I was taking a look at the qualifying order yesterday and the starting grid. It's a lot of different arrangement here today. You go to the front row, you're going to have David Baronin and Cameron Ruth. Those guys were on the second to last row in Coppa Shell yesterday, but I talked to both of their teams here ahead of this race, and they said these guys race each other so clean. They don't trade paint on those Ferraris, and what that allows these drivers to do is to grow into their skills as racing drivers. So I think that'll be a fun battle that we'll see right up front. Our yesterday's race winner in Coppa Shell, right behind them, Gray Favre, so we know we're going to have a battle there as well. Frank Szczesniak, you can't count him out, but I want to go back to a winner yesterday as well. In Coppa Shell AM, Bruce Cleveland picked up his first win of his career. He's a kid from Petaluma, said he grew up wanting this dream, wanting this moment. He went to the Inglenook Winery yesterday and got to celebrate with his fellow competitors, said so many people came to him and congratulated him yesterday, but said his very first call out of that Ferrari was to his wife and said that was a dream come true. Let's learn a little bit more about Bruce Cleveland.
My son-in-law actually does beginner instruction to teach you from going from street onto a track. So this is the first course I ever went on as a track day. A year or so later, I was in the process of retiring, and I don't do well sitting on the couch. So I knew when I retired, and my wife especially knew, that I needed something to fill kind of that void. So she said, well, you have to go to the Corsa Pelota, of course. And I was actually pretty good. I was pretty fast in my class, faster than I had expected. And I talked to a few of the instructors who were fantastic. And they suggested, hey, why don't you give it a try? So I did. And here I am. Right now, I've just been working on getting that racecraft down. I had the fantastic experience of going to Le Mans. And then the next week, racing at Montreal in the rain. So I'm just building an inventory of racecraft that I hope to keep building upon. One of the things that I really appreciate about the Ferrari Challenge, it's really white glove. All the details are thought through. The hospitality is unbelievable, especially here at Sonoma. I think that the whole entire program that's been put together for drivers is fantastic. It helps to grow you. I know the people who I race against, they're friends. It's really fun, and I think if you have any inkling of doing it, go through the program, see what it's like, come out to one of these events, get to talk to us about it, and give it a shot. It's really, really fun.
Bruce Cleveland had a fantastic time of it yesterday, and he'll be hoping to replicate that again today when we go racing in but a few moments' time. Tension beginning to build, excitement beginning to build, the anticipation and butterflies in several stomachs, and as everyone looks forward to the race to come. We've had a fantastic, and we are in a fantastic year in 2023. We've been to some fantastic circuits, and last night at that wonderful winery, the 2024 calendar was launched, and boy, what a calendar. Look at this. So there we have it, the 2024 calendar, and as we speak, my PA back in the UK is booking flights, Justin Bell.
Well, mine isn't, but I am going to be sending some emails out tomorrow. What a great series this is for everyone involved, and I've got a true understanding of the philosophy for Ferrari Challenge, having been hanging out with everyone in the hospitality. I may be on my 9th espresso of the day, but I am still sane somewhat, and it's because racing is about so much more than just driving the car. It's how you feel about yourself, the opportunity to get a lot of laps, a lot of seat time. These guys have been here 5 days.
Yes.
There's nowhere else you can go and do that. To bring your friends, your loved ones, your VIP guests, and be able to be entertained like that. White glove is what Bruce just said. That's exactly what it is. The racing on track is as hard as you want to make it. Everyone finds their natural level. That's the beautiful thing about sports car racing. Wherever your level is, you're going to settle there, and then you're going to be able to improve on it and work on it. And Dave, these guys are living that dream.
Thank you, Justin. Yes, you're absolutely right. And one guy that is always here with seemingly a huge number of family, friends, and fans as well, and we're going to learn a little bit more about him, is Jesus Mendoza.
My name is Jesus Mendoza, and I drive in car number 157. I've been racing for 3 years. Unfortunately, it's 2023. This is my only race because I got a back surgery, and I hope will be ready for 2024. I always want to be racing since I was a little kid. I went to school for baking, and I started my own business, and I started getting successful. I said as soon as I can, I'm going to buy a Ferrari, so I went to Corsa Piloto classes. I want to do right. I just want to be safe. That's my number one priority. I went to Corsa Piloto, and then I joined R3 Motorsports. I think I'm going to put a pretty good fight up there. I'm doing very well since I was out for a year. I hope I get in the podium, but that's my goal, but it's not easy. There's a lot of good drivers up there.
What a fantastic character. Jesus Mendoza then, delighted to see him back on track and enjoying his time in the Ferrari Challenge. And as I say, there's a huge entourage that all have the same clothing, that yellow and blue livery. It's fantastic. So here we are at Sonoma Raceway. It is Ferrari Challenge, and the Coppa Shell driver's about to take to the track. And we're delighted that Nancy Lynn for Race for RP is here, and she is going to utter those immortal words when we know that we're getting ready for race action. So let's go down on track with Nancy Lynn.
On behalf of Race for RP, drivers, start your Ferrari engines.
Thank you, Nancy. Holding on to her baseball cap, as I recommend everyone holds on to any loose clothing that they may have, because the wind has really got up a bit, JP.
Yeah, interesting. I'm trying to work out. You can see the massive American flag over there by the start of the drag strip, and that means it's very important you identify when the wind gets to a certain speed which direction it's going in. These hills actually protect you from the wind.
Yes.
In a lot of places. Indy cars will get very affected by the wind here. There was having a tailwind, remember, pushes you into a corner, can make the car a little more loose, give you understeer on the way in. Having it into the heads on as you come back down into the bowl here by the hospitality, it'll pin the nose to the ground. So I'm sure a lot of the drivers, not just the teams holding down the tents, Amanda, are very cognizant of the wind.
JB, you're exactly right. I was talking to a few of the drivers about the wind prior to this race. I think you could probably tell from my hairstyle during that opening that it has definitely picked up here. But what they're actually kind of motivated by is that the wind, the way that it's coming off of the bay, it's kind of going north in terms of the track, and so as it goes up those S's, the drivers are actually anticipating being able to find more grip in those tight corners. So I was actually pretty surprised by that. So maybe there'll be even more grip out there for these tires.
Thanks so much, Amanda. This is it. Stand by. Definitely hold on to anything that might be loose, because you're going to need it. We are about to go racing Coppa Shell Race 2, Coppa Shell and Coppa Shell Am. So drivers making their way out then to install these cars ready for the 30-minute race to come. The Coppa Shell drivers with the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen, the Coppa Shell Am drivers with the black strip across the top of the windscreen. And here is our Coppa Shell grid. David Veronin, he's put it on pole position. Cameron Root, boy, they have some battles. He goes from P2. Gray Falvey, yesterday's race winner, goes from P3 with Frank Szczesniak from P4. What a lively couple of rows there with Cyril Choksi and Jan Bernier going from P6. Incidentally, Daniel Mancinelli, Jan Bernier's driver coach, happy birthday, Daniel. Paul Losker goes from P7 and Matt Dalton goes from P8. And then we go to the fifth row of the grid, where we find John Fiskup and Roy Carroll going from P9 and P10. To the sixth row of our Coppa Shell grid, we find Ray Acosta and Eric Marston. And a couple of drivers that could be interesting from those perhaps out of position grid placements. Robert McWilliams and Dirk Ulrich, P13 and P14 for Ferrari of Washington and Ferrari of Palm Beach. Michael Luley goes from P15, and then the best of the Coppa Shell Am drivers. Well done to Lance Corley for Ferrari of Atlanta, pole in class. Bruce Cleveland, yesterday's race winner, going from P17 with Lisa Clark alongside P18. It's Steve Czech and Paul Lynn going from P19 and P20. Had some great laughs with Steve Czech at the winery last night. And to row 11, it's Roger Monteforte and Jeffrey Numberg going from P21 and P22. To the 12th row of our packed Coppa Shell grid, it's Neil Langberg and Jerry Walters then side by side, P23 and P24. To the 13th row, where we find Al Hagley and Jesus Mendoza, P25 and P26. A lot of cars out there for this Coppa Shell race, the combo of Shell and Shell Am drivers. I'm excited, Justin. I know you are too. We saw some great racing yesterday. We're expecting much of the same today.
We are. These guys put on a show, and obviously we're hoping for a cleaner race at the beginning. We don't want any incidents that cut down on track time. Everyone's here for track time, but as we watch them out of our booth window, you're watching them double file as they head down into the final combination of corners. It goes right in front of our VIP hospitality at turn 11, and I'm sure everyone, the noise as these cars accelerate away is just resounding down there. We're going to look at the lights on the top of the pace car. He'll be accelerating away from them now, and the pole sitter controls the action.
Absolutely. It's the responsibility of David Veronin then to control the pace of the rolling start. It's always a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge side-by-side grid formation. We throw the lights to the top of the screen so that you can see when the flag is going to go, and it goes green, and I would have said that was a very good start from David Veronin. And Cameron Root slotting in right behind then as all cars, one or two running a bit wide there. If they can control the cars and get back out onto the tarmac, good driving from them.
Very good driving.
Because it's very, very difficult to hold on when you're running on what is effectively dust, because the grass is really rather dry. So First sequence of turns then, the drivers all looking good so far. David Veronin then nailed the start absolutely perfectly. Cameron Root was having a look, but he had to slot into that P2 place with Gray Falver, who was also trying to unseat Cameron Root at that point, but held on to it nicely. So
it's the time for some opportune moments. Obviously, if the opportunity presents itself for you to pick up position, you do. You also have to play play safe. Occasionally, if someone's got a good honest pass on you, you want to. It doesn't matter. You're not going to defend too hard at this early stage of the race. Remember, tire degradation, we call it tar deg, is a factor here. The track temperatures will be cooler, but the track grip never changes. It's very abrasive, and these guys are going to push hard for 2 or 3 laps. It'll start to settle down, but I tell you what, it's a good. Ooh, a little bit sideways coming out of there. You know, these guys are pushing it, but they've gone from basically half an hour ago they were having lunch. Yes. Now they're out in a race car, so there's a sort of shift of psychological pressure you have to go through.
You're absolutely right. So about to put the first lap in the book then as David Veronin circulates around turn number 11 with Cameron Root and Gray Falver right on his tail, but David Veronin controlling this really rather nicely, building himself a little bit of a margin between himself and Cameron Root then as they cross the timing line and, as I say, put the first lap into the record books. So for the Shell drivers, it is David Veronin from Cameron Root, from Gray Falver, then it's Frank Chesniak, Cyril Choksi, Jan Bernier, and one driver that's dropping down the order is it's Dirk Ulrich and also Eric Marston. Now, whether they've had it coming together or not,
they
I'm
obviously
not sure.
have. And Lisa Clark, I think, has just dropped 5 places.
Okay, well, also dropping down the order is Lance Corley, who you will recall started pole position for the Shell Am drivers. Well, he's been usurped by both Bruce Cleveland and Steve Check, who are now P1 and P2 in Shell Am. So obviously something going on there whilst we were watching the front runners, and Cameron Root is coming under a bit of pressure now from Gray Falver here. This is the fight that's going on for P2. So David Veronin's escaped up the road a little bit, and now Cameron Root is having to defend from Gray Falver for that P2 place.
It's playing exactly into Veronin's hands.
Yes.
If I was Cameron, I wouldn't want to let him to clear off too fast. So either Gray's going to have to pull a move off, or they're both going to face the punishment for that.
Now, this is Lance Corley. You can just see at the back of this picture, because what we've got here is Ulrich and Marston both having a ding-dong battle between themselves in the 126 car and the 113 car, and you will recall that Dirk Ulrich ended up on the grass yesterday. Now, right behind him is Lance Corley. So it suggests to me, if you're looking at the graphics, Bruce Cleveland and Steve Check are already ahead of Ulrich and Marston. And whatever happened to those two drivers, obviously Cleveland and Check were able to take advantage of that and move themselves ahead. So Lance Corley currently running in that P3 place. We ride on board now with Roy Carroll into turn number 11. Hospitality on the left, as you can see. Not that he's going to indicate left and go in there. Of course, he's racing at the moment.
Oh, I saw that how he
goodness.
went out really right on the he basically needed an Uber to get to the apex, and then almost hit the wall on the exit.
So Mike Luley took advantage,
and he
didn't
took advantage of it, and then brushed him to the wall. So what was all that stuff about not trading paint? I just heard.
Here we go.
Yeah, you see, he got forced out wide there. He really couldn't get any traction, and then he tracked out, and that definitely Luley tracked out and just crunched him on the door.
Now this is, as we look at this is the Bruce Cleveland car. So Bruce Cleveland is leading this Shell Am category, and he's got Roy Carroll as something of a comfort cushion between himself and Steve Check, because Roy Carroll is a Shell driver and not Shell Am. So that means that he's got, as I say, this sort of comfort cushion really. So Bruce Cleveland trying to escape up the road, as indeed David Veronin is doing, and has done, to the tune of 2.5 seconds down here, Justin Bell. That's brilliant driving from Veronin.
Very, very nice, and it's playing absolutely, as I said, into his hands. But they're going to settle down just for a second right now. But not everyone. Look, side-by-side action going up into turn 7 with some of the lower placed cars right now. The thing to remember with racing is everybody is in their own race, no matter where you are out of these 20 or so cars, and that is the magic of sports car racing. And everybody is trying as hard as they can, and you naturally find the battle that you're ready for that day. But right up at the pointy end of the field, of course, Veronin's just got to, he knows his tyres are going to be managed. It's a lot easier to lead on tyre wear than it is to follow. When you're following, you use up more of your tyres, and these cars do two things really, really well. They brake incredibly well and they accelerate really well. And so, yeah, they go around corners great, but that's where you want to play to the strengths. Remember, cars want to brake in a straight line and get on the gas as hard as they can. And that's what these drivers are trying to do on a track where there's no straights. So, you know, it's a very, very demanding technique.
So as we watch it, everyone, as you say, they've just begun to settle down a little bit. This is Jan Bernier then running in P6 at the moment. He's got John Viscup on his trumpet here. So Jan Bernier, very, very good driver indeed, running in that P6 position, having to defend that P6 from John Viscup at the moment, the Ferrari of Seattle driver then. And as I mentioned, his driver coach, Daniel Mancinelli, himself a hugely successful Ferrari Challenge driver in his day, and is still a young man, to be honest, and is still a hugely successful driver. He'll be on the radio to Jan Bernier, just advising him on how to defend from the hard-charging John Viscup here, who's lining him up, isn't he? We ride on board with John Viscup.
He is, you know, he's just teeing him up for a pass somewhere, but he also has to balance himself, and his coach will be saying, don't get too close and fixated on the back of his car, because you will not be able to get by him if you do that.
Is there any element of truth, Justin, that when you're running this close to the car in front of you, that you are affected by the turbulent air? But he's dived up the inside.
Can he pin it? Can he pin it to the inside? Very nicely done. That was a move that he executed as he had to, because if he had waited another few corners, I think it settles down and then it's harder to overtake.
You have said this several times, that particularly on this circuit, if you're going to go for a move, you've got to go for it. There's no point dillying around. You've got to absolutely be committed to it. So back to what I was saying then, when you're running really, really close, do you get affected by the turbulent air off the car in front? Not in these cars, surely.
At high speed, if we were...
around has gone the, I think that's the 195 car that is around. Going to be able to, so that's off the back of turn 11, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. Oh, okay, he's out wide.
Just losing the back end there.
Yeah, that takes some doing.
Paul Lynn.
There was maybe a traction control issue for him. He just got the management of it. He was already compromised coming through 11, and I think it just didn't get any better from there. No harm, no foul. No. Lost a couple of places. He'll still have a great race.
Ray Falver is staying with David Veronin here. This is
I'd say even caught him a little bit.
Yeah, the gap is down to 1.121 now between P1 and P2. So these two have broken away slightly from Cameron Root, and as David Veronin sets the fastest lap with a 1:49.22, let's hear from Amanda Busick.
Well, they came into the weekend, Cameron Root leading the championship, David Veronin in P3 in that points position, about 17 points back from Cameron Root. Was able to gain a couple points on Cameron yesterday, but a good weekend for David Veronin. He picked up his first pole ever of his career, adding that to his resume. And when I talked to him off camera, I was asking, well, you know, what's left that you are looking to accomplish this season as you grow into your first season? He said, well, Amanda, of course, to win the championship. So ever the race car drivers, are they ever satisfied, you guys?
Of course not.
Of course not, but I'll tell you who isn't satisfied right now is Gray Favre. I noticed yesterday he is excellent on the brakes. His car was excellent on the brakes yesterday. And as you see coming down to 11, he gains a bit of ground. He gains it going down to 7. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. He needs to exert some pressure now. It's a good time in this race. He needs to be part of Veronin's every corner. He needs to be conscious of him in the mirrors, and it'll start to slow him down a bit. If he lets him get out a couple of seconds, he can pace it. So, I mean, this is really good stuff, and I know Gray doesn't want to finish second.
This is Paul Losco, currently running P9, being chased by Ray Acosta. May I make mention of the fact that our race leader in Coppa Shell AM, Bruce Cleveland, has added to his comfort cushion, because he's now got 3 Coppa Shell drivers between himself and Steve Check and Lance Corley, who are running P2 and P3 in Coppa Shell AM. But we are watching this battle that's going on for P9 between Paul Losco and Ray Acosta. So Ray Acosta getting ever closer to Paul Losco here. Where's he tracking him? And he's got cars ahead. So you know, if he can push Paul Losco to get in terms with those cars ahead, maybe that will play to the advantage of Ray Acosta here. That is Ray Acosta's center screen right now, currently running P10, but desperately wants to convert that to P9, and he's getting closer still. And well, good job being done in defending from Paul Losco at the moment. Let's hear more from Amanda Busick.
Oh, what a weekend of learning for Paul Oscar as we watch this battle continue to go between Ray and him. Ray trying to close in on that 118 Ferrari, and just talking to, there he goes on the inside there. Well done, Ray Acosta. But back to Paul quickly. Yesterday was his very first race in the series. Came through Corsa Pelota, did Club Challenge. Said that yesterday was one of the most exhilarating experiences that he's ever had in his life. He said headed into turn 2 with 28 cars around him, he could barely even just stand the excitement of it, but said he was an avid skydiver for many years, and this was more exciting than that.
That's extraordinary. So, big well done to Paul Oscar. And in fairness to him, he just lost out to Ray Acosta. This is Bruce Cleveland, who is running. You can see Eric Marston and Roy Carroll are right behind. Now, Eric Marston and Roy Carroll are Coppa Shell drivers. This car in the orange and blue, as Eric Marston dives to the inside and Bruce Cleveland goes to close the door. So all of a sudden his comfort cushion of 2 Coppa Shell drivers has now become just 1. But there's no point Bruce Cleveland chasing those drivers or fighting with them, because they're in a completely different class. But he did have the benefit of having those 2 behind him, protecting him from his nearest Coppa Shell and pursuer. So Roy Carroll then, who we ride with this on-board shot so that we can see the inputs inside the car and how they make the car react out there on track as he chases down Eric Marston. Eric here with his family this weekend, and Roy Carroll is looking very racy, Justin.
Yeah, he is, and as you saw him take advantage there and squeeze by as well. These 2 are on a little bit of a mission. It's like they found their pace. They obviously had a bit of a shaky first few laps in the traffic, struggled to overtake, but now they've retaken their rightful place in the lineup. And as they're heading in, I mean, this is a hard-fought battle, but it's like seeing how they get the measure of each other into turn 11 here. It's all about, do not get sucked in by the car in front. You've got to balance it. If you want to overtake, you've got to focus on your corner exit,
right,
not their corner entry. And so right now we are seeing a little bit of Acosta pulling out a little bit. He's got his bit between his teeth, as they say. So it's an interesting. We're 13 minutes into the race, which is I would say when you're getting into that mid phase of time management.
Right.
If you want to be quick and stand on the podium in respective classes, you've got to be quite smart through this mid-section of the race.
Cameron Root that we were focusing on there is running in P3, and the gap between Cameron Root and Frank Szczesniak then, as you can see, is 3.464 seconds. So Cameron Root is kind of out on his own because he is down some 7.7 seconds on the leader. So those 2 cars have run in a Grey Falva who've really broken away from this P3 and P4 and indeed P5 pack, with Surreal Choxy there running in P5 at the moment, just a second behind Frank Szczesniak. I remind you that Surreal Choxy is in the T car this weekend, having had an off on Wednesday. So there is Cameron Root going through into turn number 11, followed by Frank Szczesniak and the car of Surreal Choxy. Just to go back to Roy Carroll, of course, Roy's race yesterday was compromised because he and Dirk Ulrich had it coming together. So, of course, he wants to have a good race today, and certainly is looking very racy. They are contesting P13 and P14 in the race at the moment. So that is the Frank Szczesniak car, though, and being chased by Surreal Choxy. Now, Surreal Choxy has had a super season, to be fair. He opened his account very well, taking P1 in the opening race at Host of Miami. And as we ride on board here, this is a brilliant on-board shot there.
Very nicely done. And, they came out of there almost identically, and having a little gap as you go up into 1-2 is not so bad. He'll catch him at the top of the hill probably, because there is traffic ahead, and that's going to be a factor.
So this is Roy Carroll that we're on board with, Johan Bernier ahead, and staying with this battle, and John Fisker in that mix as well. And there you can see the 1-2-1 car of Roy Carroll, and
bit of a last-minute lunge there, looked like, when he got in his mirrors, you see how it forced him out wide. If the driver coaches, I better say, focus on your line. Do not get off line. You don't have to give it to them. Don't move out wide, because the minute, as you can see, you give some concession to the overtaker, especially if there's two cars, you end out on the marbles, you pick up all sorts of rubber on your tires, and you're miles from your ideal line.
This three-way fight for P12 that continues as we hear a bit more about Roy Carroll, and that is from Amanda Boosie.
Well, there's another Carroll that is putting on a fire suit here this weekend. His daughter Madison has been racing in the Corsa Pelota Club Challenge as she gets up to speed of eventually her hopes are to become a racing driver. I was talking to her earlier in the garages about what it would be like racing alongside her dad, and she just said, "Oh, I'm going to give it all to him." Said it would be just as competitive as it is off track. So the family looking forward to those moments. But in talking to one of the Foreign Cars Italia representative, Steve Sudler, he said what a great place Ferrari Challenge has become for a family outing, for a family weekend. And Dave, I'm going to toss back to you so you can talk about that.
Well, Madison I saw on the podium for that track attack that they did earlier on as the 153 car now is circulating. That is Neil Langberg. He's got it back pointing in the right direction. He's going to get up to speed, the Ferrari South Bay driver. Neil Langberg doing a very good thing, getting out wide and making sure that he's not impeding any other driver. So obviously a turnaround there for Neil Langberg. We didn't see that live, but great shame for Neil Langberg then as Cameron Root does go past. And I would suggest that the 153 car is ailing somewhat now.
He's ailing because he would have been back up to speed then. It was a pretty simple spin.
Yeah.
And so we're not sure, obviously, why he and his team are the only ones that know why that's happening. But certainly for everybody else, this is a very aggressive race. And if you're running with traffic, we say they're going to settle down to a rhythm. It makes opportunities for overtaking tougher to come by. But one mistake, whether we're looking at Veronin and Favre, we're all the way down. One mistake, one going out wide, one getting the car sideways, and the guy behind you is going to be all over you.
This is Lisa Clark, who's chasing down Roger Monteforte and Jeff Nunberg, who are running P4 and 5. Lisa Clark currently P6. Incidentally, it's Roger Monteforte that's lent a car to Cyril Choksi. It's Lisa Clark lining up on the inside of Roger Monteforte now. Surely this is a slam dunk job done? Not quite.
No, she was actually she was very nice to him then.
Right.
I think he thought he was gonna she was gonna go by and open the door a bit, but discretion the better part of valor there for Lisa. I think she knows she has the pace, to be honest. I can see her eyeing up these two as potential, bait. And
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if she made a move down into 11. Now she's positioned all in his mirrors, being aggressive, creating a presence in the mirrors of the guy in front is a very powerful weapon drivers have.
Yes, if you can be a nuisance, as Lisa Clark just takes a look at the inside line, and again, discretion, better part of valor, as you mentioned earlier on, she chooses to dial out of that, but surely it's a question of when, not if, that Lisa Clark is going to try and get by that car of Roger Monteforte. The live gap between the two of them running in P5 and P6 is just 5/10, so it's lighting up nicely. Now, Mike Luley is having a great time of it here and fighting very, very hard, but Mike Luley having to defend now, and Roy Carroll diving down through the inside. Eric Marston has already got by, and so that means that those two drivers, a couple of laps they were behind Mike Luley, but they've got by now, and you can see now Eric Marston has kind of been released. He's escaping up the road, and next to target the Mike Luley car will be Bruce Cleveland, who is our leader in Coppa Shell Am, ahead of Steve Check and Lance Corley, who are occupying P2 and P3 in that particular category at the moment. The two classes of cars racing, we have our Coppa Shell drivers, and that was a mistake, wasn't it?
No, it's actually it's the ABS ultimate. He's trying to brake as late as he can.
Okay.
And the ABS does the between traction brake on the ABS. They're on a setting where it just is so aggressive. Look at was that Lisa out wide?
No. That's the 132 car that's gone wide of Jan Bernier.
Jan Bernier. Okay.
So Ray Acosta has gone through on Jan Bernier to pick up that P8 position, and waiting to try and do exactly the same is Paul Loska now in the all red 488 Challenge Evo right behind. So you were explaining.
So
that
very
was
quickly,
traction
under
control.
under the ABS systems are at the literal threshold of grip. And so it gives a little twitch, and if you just time it wrong, it just increases a little bit of understeer, which is what he had up there.
I see. Thanks very much, Justin, then explaining exactly why we saw that car twitch a bit. Right, not twitching now is Ray Acosta, having got by Jan Bernier. He's picked up that P8 place. He'll put the chase on now to John Viscup, who is running in P7. We've got 10 minutes of this Coppa Shell race remaining. David Veronin, may I just mention, we've not seen a lot of him. The reason for that is he's 4 seconds up the road in the lead of this race. He has broken away from Gray Falva, and Gray was close to him for some laps, wasn't he? But David Veronin has done a good job in breaking away from him, and they are both quite some measure away from Cameron Root running in P3. So Jan Bernier then, is he going to fall prey now to Paul Losker? So Paul Losker in this all-red car really chasing down Jan Bernier ahead. Jan has done a lot of racing in Europe this year. It's been a delight. He was one of the drivers in the support race at Le Mans and did a very, very good job. So Jan Bernier then having to defend. And here we can see, I think that's the Cyril Choksi car chasing down Frank Szczesniak. This is the battle that's going on for P4 and P5 respectively. There is the car that is running in P4 at the moment, Frank Szczesniak, and Cyril Choksi. Now, unfamiliar colour scheme for the 173 car, and that is because he binned his car on Wednesday, his own car, and therefore is using Roger Monteforti's car, which he told me is a jolly good car, Dave, and that's been proven, isn't it?
Yeah. I've got to say, the quality of the driving we're seeing is very high. Everybody seems to have settled down nicely. I hope they're having as much fun as I hope they're having, because it really, what a track, and it really does demand everything out of you. You said earlier, there's no straights, and there are no straights. You are fully on it all the way around this track, and there's a certain stage you're going through now where you've taken the measure of everything you have as a driver in the car, and you're just working on braking later, getting on the gas a bit earlier, unwinding the wheel earlier and getting on the gas. It's really just, you should be refining your trade right now, and the natural pace that you find, if it's faster than the car in front, you've got to let him know, and that's all about presence, as I say. Make the guy think you're going to go by as you come up,
right,
and you've won half the battle. You hesitate, then he starts to know how to defend.
So Cyril Choksi, who of course was on the podium yesterday, continues to chase down, but for the moment I would suggest Frank Szczesniak has got the measure of this. He's doing a very, very good job there. So a slightly different, wider line, that's made him a little bit vulnerable, hasn't it? So Cyril Choksi able to get a bit closer. Now, I have said this, and here we can see this battle that is continuing to rage, and there have been a number of battles continuing to rage during the course of this race, and we're enjoying this one right now. And these are Coppa Shell AM racers, and it's Steve Check and Lance Corley, P2 and P3. Now, of course, Lance Corley starting on pole position is chasing down Steve Check now because he would like to advance his podium place by one if he possibly can. To reinforce what you were saying, Justin, about the fact that you're really working hard on this circuit. I mean, there is never a racing circuit where, as a racing driver, you can relax, but surely this one, you are on it every single centimetre of tarmac. There is no opportunity for you to take even a breather.
And they're filling it. It's only 30 minutes and the temperatures are cooler, but they will fill as he's setting up for a pass. Didn't quite stick his nose in. He made the right decision not to lunge any further, but he's also making the right decision to, I'm going to have a better corner exit out of 11 so I can, it's very hard to overtake anywhere he's heading right now until they get down on the upper side of the track.
He was much tighter though, wasn't he, on the apex of turn 11, and you're absolutely right, he was able to carry so much more speed. It's
a little bit of a dummy, really. He got in his mirrors and which made him have a defensive line, but I don't think you can't overtake through here. Right. So it's all about, you can coming down the hill here, but then you're compromised on the inside. So I think if I was him, I'd be doing everything I can to set up for either an overtake in 6, setting up really for a big overtake under braking for 7. So I think he's just being very predatory right now. And I'm liking this a lot.
He's certainly worrying, isn't he? He's really, really pushing very, very hard.
On there, hold it to the inside, run the perfect line.
Great.
Very nice.
Great fight going on between them. We've got 5.5 minutes of this race remaining, and bring it on. Absolutely brilliant stuff here. So Lance Corley then, who lost out on 2 places right at the start of the race, is trying to come back now, and it's Steve Check that he's chasing down, and Steve is doing a good job of defending here.
Very good. I mean, he actually managed to gap him coming through 7, 7, 8. But this is a vulnerable moment as they set up coming back towards the hospitality. Everybody in hospitality right now will be able to see them come out from behind the drag strip building just in a few seconds, and just watch. Will he be setting up for the big pass?
Well,
he is right there, Dave.
He rehearsed it last time around. Is he going to make it stick this time? Oh, no, not quite.
No, he needed another espresso before he got in the car. He might have pulled that off.
But again, very much tighter. And the reason for that is, as you said, Steve Czech has to take a defensive line, doesn't he?
Yeah. And through here, I just give him hassle. I give him grief. You can't overtake for the next 6 corners. So just make him be annoying. That's all you can do. But be wary of your tire wear, because when you're doing that, you burn up your fronts a lot more.
Be a pest. We need more pests.
More pests.
So that's what Lance is doing at the moment to Steve Czech. It is the fight that's going on for P2 and P3. As that round has gone, is that Ray Acosta in the 107 car? Yes, it is.
Wow.
Now, did Ray manage to get that turned around? Let's take a look in replay here. So Ray Acosta having gone around. Did he get a little assist?
No. Oh, no, he lost it under braking. Well, thank goodness he didn't touch either of those cars. A little bit too much rear bias, and that can happen with the ABS system.
Okay.
And he wasn't able to ease off the brakes just in time before the rears locked.
So a bit of a spin for Ray Acosta. Here's Amanda Busick.
I still think he's going to leave the weekend with higher than expectations that he had for himself coming in. He just talks about what a challenging track this was, and finding podium yesterday. He said that was worth every single shot at making that podium for how difficult this track is, but said he wanted to apply what he learned from the tire wear and the tire deck yesterday into today's race. So I'm sure he will regroup with his team after this. But when we talk about the tire wear, we talk about the tire deck, what is it that the drivers are experiencing inside of these Ferraris with 3 minutes left to go?
To be honest, Amanda, they're feeling that everything they were able to do at the beginning, and the how late they were able to brake, how much speed they were able to carry on, you just can't do it to the same extent. And you find your new platform, your new baseline going to these last stage of the race. These cars will still be accelerating off the corner and braking just as well as they were in many ways, but the overall cornering speed will have been diminished. But how have you managed your tires? Do you have anything left in the tank? Are you ready to make that final pass that you've been setting up for? And in this case, I would think that Lawley really does have a chance. If he doesn't go by, he's going to sleep badly tonight.
Here he comes, Lance diving up the inside. Steve Czech gives him room, in fairness.
He does. He's got to stick it, though. If you're there, if you've done that much of the work, just keep burying it in there. And we're going to see through here. He now needs to nice wide line on entry. He's got to just focus on his line. That's it. Get to the inside. He's going to struggle to get him up into 11, I think, into 7.
Okay, so Lance Corley then, who for lap after lap after lap has really been taking it to Steve Czech, but it's been it's been a fraught and firm fight between them, but it's been absolutely fair as well. And whenever Lance has tried to have a go, Steve has left in the room to be able to do it if he was going to come in.
Yeah, and so what happens now is I think you'll find that Steve's thinking he's not actually going to pull it off, which could be the big mistake, because he thinks he's not really got the technique to go by, but I actually think he does, and that's why he's all over him. But he's got to think, be clean coming up into turn 11.
He's closer now than he's been last two.
Go on, bury it in there, mate. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so difficult. Oh, he's got. It's going to be side by side through turn 12.
This is going to be very exciting. Then they go through the kink, absolutely side by side, as Justin is saying here. And Lance now having to duck in behind Steve Czech, but they were side by side as they approach that kink and climb uphill now. And as you say, it's kind of not much doing over the next few turns for Lance Corley, but it's been a brilliant defensive job from Steve Czech. Fair play to you, Steve. David Veronin then leading by 4 seconds, and this is the car that we look at right now.
It is our final lap, so
my goodness.
So they're going to. Time flies when they're having fun. Oh, he's going to give it another go. I tell him, but this is when it gets a bit scrappy. He's got to think about ahead and plan and say, I am going by in 7 or in 11, and not just try everywhere. It ain't going to happen. But boy, he's full of those mirrors. There's a mental imprint, I'm sure, that you got this red Ferrari behind you. but very nicely coming off there, turn 6.
Well, of course, now Roger Monteforte and Lisa Clark are getting closer as well. I
they're
know we're
getting-
on the final lap, but
They're all starting to join the party.
yes. So Steve Czech, I mean, I have to say, I've got a lot of time for both of the drivers. They're
Right.
super guys. But
Very nice.
Steve has really done a very good job in defending here.
I tell you what, unless they're very careful, there could be someone else sneaking
Yes.
in on the turn 11 action as we're watching them head back down these fast S's. A little bit of a gap coming down the hill. Will he have the wherewithal to pull this off? Is he going to, if either one of these guys makes a mistake, the pass is made.
Here comes
Squeezing
Lance
him across
again.
a bit.
This time he's got to do it.
Come on, tuck it inside, mate. You've got it. That's it. Get in there. Oh, yes. It must be brilliant from the hospitality watching them do this. I tell you what, this is a great way to end this race.
Well, Lance, you've got, as you start the final lap,
I swear I saw the white flag last time round. Maybe
yeah,
that's just
but
my eyeballs.
I think it's because Veronin is so far ahead, because here he is. David Veronin then in the car number 177 as he picks up on Jerry Walters right behind. The checkered flag flies for David Veronin, who takes the win. Some 1.8 seconds ahead of Gray Falva, who will take P2, and it will be Cameron Root taking P3. But we've got to come back to this battle, which is between...
Oh, down the inside and then
no!
goes spin. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That was optimistic. That was a moonshot, that was. But it relied on audience participation, which he didn't get, mate. Oh my goodness.
Well, that has changed the shape of that somewhat, hasn't it? So it was... and there you can see that, unfortunately, for Roger Monteforte, it didn't end well in any regard.
This was a lunge from so far back. That was a spectacular. That was a burst of optimism that I have never been fortunate enough to experience. That was just going to, he knew he was throwing it in there. Wow, I don't know what to say.
Well, the one thing I will say is Steve Czech was rubbing his hands with invisible soap.
He was, exactly.
This is Bruce Cleveland, who is going, chased by Mike Luley, but Bruce Cleveland should, barring disaster around turn number 11, he should take the Coppa Shell Am victory. So he heads towards the checkered flag right now. David Veronin, seems an hour ago now that he crossed the timing lines to take the checkered flag, but here comes our Coppa Shell Am winner. Well done, Bruce Cleveland.
Fabulous.
What a weekend he has had. Absolutely extraordinary. Now, Steve Czech is going to be P2. Now, through all of that melee, did Lisa Clark find herself in a podium place?
Ooh, we don't know.
So,
good point.
Steve Czech does take P2. Who is going to be P3? I think it was Lisa Clark. I think.
Wow. We did lose 3 cars in front of him.
So here's David Veronin then for Foreign Cars Italia. He takes the win in Coppa Shell. And we're just going to take a look at our timing screen here. According to this, yes, it's going to be Cleveland, Czech, and Lisa Clark.
Well done, Lisa. That is fantastic.
But that's just having presence of mind, isn't it? To be able to take advantage of all those that are falling over ahead of you.
Totally. Sometimes you have to be smarter than make a mistake. And you knew that was setting up, but I did not think we were going to have that third player in the team join. That was kind of wild. Wow, that made for some excitement, didn't it?
Yeah, just a bit.
Last lap action.
So, there were battles going on throughout the field for the entire race. There was plenty for us to talk about, wasn't there?
Yeah, only Veronin had a lonely old path. But when you're leading, that's okay.
Yeah, he had something of a privilege to... Gray Falva took it to him right at the start of the race, didn't he? But he didn't. He wasn't able to maintain that. I mean, Veronin had just got such pace. Here comes the result in full for you then. David Veronin taking the win in Coppa Shell ahead of Gray Falva and Cameron Root. Those are the drivers that you'll be seeing on the podium a little bit later on today. Frank Szczesniak P4, Cyril Choksi P5. Then it was Matt Dalton, John Visca, Paul Loska, Jan Bernier, and Ray Acosta completing the top 10 in Coppa Shell. They were joined by Robert McWilliams, Eric Marston, and Roy Carroll. The winner in Coppa Shell Am, Bruce Cleveland, who finished ahead of Mike Luley and Dirk Ulrich, 2 Coppa Shell races. But in terms of Coppa Shell Am, it's Steve Czech and Lisa Clark taking P2 and P3. Lance Corley recovering to take P4, and Jerry Walters with a fine P5 ahead of Roger Monteforte, Paul Lynn, Jeffrey Numberg, Jesus Mendoza, Neil Langberg, and Heliegi didn't start the race. So that's the way it looks. That confirmed from race control. And Well, they've been treated to some brilliant Coppa Shell race action here in the hospitality suite around turn 11.
I think we saw in a very clean race, other than the last little bit there, and a little bit of bumping and rubbing where it came to it, and just managing these cars with over 700 horsepower, a very demanding track. And they've had a lot of track time the last few days, which has been magnificent. And I think we've seen everybody do what I'm sure Didier Tays with the running the way the driver coaches are. If you talk about trying to get better every session, this was a better race than yesterday's even, and people really did come through. Actually, chuffed for Lisa, because yesterday she wanted a bit of redemption when I spoke to her for yesterday's result, and everyone deserves to be very proud of the performance for David Veronin.
Yeah, he did a good job. There is an argument that perhaps most of the hard work was done in qualifying, because once you've got that P1 position, then you should always be have the ability to command the race. Well, David did that with some aplomb, didn't he? And is congratulated and well done to David Veronin then. So he takes the win in Coppa Shell. And Bruce Cleveland for Coppa Shell Am. So David is another one that enjoys really terrific support from his family, who are here at every race event as well, and they really do share the enjoyment, and certainly doing that here at the Sonoma Raceway today with his victory. So great stuff. So Coppa Shell drivers done and dusted for the weekend then, and their races have been completed in this really rather lovely location, and David Veronin already is with Amanda Busick.
And so many people have stopped by already to congratulate you, David, on what a great drive. And from green flag to checkers, this race was all about you. And I know you're racing with purpose on and off track today. What will this win represent for you?
It's a bittersweet moment. I lost my uncle this morning. I wasn't going to share it, but I felt like that was a little extra motivation today. So to me, he was like my oldest brother. He was 7 years older than me. He was my mom's baby brother. We grew up together. All the hardships, everything I had in my life, it was tough. We're in the similar businesses. We'd always bounce ideas. He's the one that got me into my business I'm in today, so that's for him.
Congratulations.
Special meaning for David Veronin. He shared that news with us at lunch today, and you're a big guy to go out there and race as well as you have on a day like today. Well done, David Veronin. So there is the hospitality suite. We're going to be taking a look at the Drivers' Championship points in due course. And David Veronin has done himself no harm at all, because, look, he's closed that gap to just 8 to Cameron Root, who's still leading the Drivers' Championship points with a fine P3. And Cyril Choksi now drops down from P2 to P3 in the Drivers' Championship points. So there's still plenty to play for going into the final rounds of the Ferrari Challenge for 2023, Justin.
And, of course, race wins, consistent points, you will end up with a good result in the championship. And you can lead the championship and have it taken away from you, as we see in every championship in the world. So for celebrating with his family, that's so nice. Yeah. That's the best feeling in the world. And for your kids to see you drive, I tell you what, that's a great set of memories. But as I was saying, the championship, the next round, is very important for the championship, because if you have a dud weekend, you're not going to recover, really.
Right, Bruce has done a brilliant job this weekend. Bruce Cleveland, our Coppa Shell Am driver, who has taken 2 out of 2. He's with Amanda right now.
Dave and his wife, his son-in-law, and his daughter over here waving, congratulate him. And Bruce, you told us yesterday you were just a boy from Petaluma that had a dream. You will sweep the weekend at your home track. Did you imagine it could be this big?
No, especially with Lance's time this morning. He laid down a nice qualifying lap. I said, oh, my God, my work's cut out. Lisa was right behind us. The whole race, I think, was really made on the start, quite frankly. I think I got ahead of a few people, luckily, and was able to put some gap in there because of it. But no, from Petaluma, never driven here as a kid, couldn't have imagined it. It's kind of a fairy tale come true. It was a fantastic weekend. Really awesome.
How does one celebrate a weekend like this?
Well, for me, it begins with scotch. So seriously, though, the way it is with your family and your friends, my teammates, you couldn't do this without the R3 team, without Silicon Valley Ferrari supporting me 200%. They do a fantastic job. They keep the car going, and my coach Alex Premott in the Ferrari Series and Michael Miller as well have really taken me a long way over the last year. So it's been phenomenal, really phenomenal.
Congratulations, Bruce. And just to correct you just a little bit, I think it starts with champagne right over there.
Yes, absolutely. I forgot. I must be race weary.
Well done, Bruce Cleveland. Great job done. Let's take a look at the Coppa Shell AM points, how they sit right now as that's the recovery operation for the Roger Montefort car, I believe. But here are the points then. Lisa Clark leading on 93 points. Lance Corley getting closer, though, just 17 points behind. And Bruce Cleveland, following this awesome weekend, he's had his P3 in the Drivers' Championship points now. Dan Cornish missing this weekend, drops 2 places. They're ahead of Jeff Nunberg, Darren Bernstein, Roger Montefort, Paul Lynn, Louis Perescoya, and Steve Check. So the top 10 in the Coppa Shell AM Drivers' Championship points. That's the way it looks, and you've just enjoyed a fantastic Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell race. Drivers from Coppa Shell and Coppa Shell AM out there performing on the Sonoma Raceway. And that, what a view, what a backdrop that is to fantastic racing circuit. From Justin and myself, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye for now.